Imagine struggling with infertility for years, and enduring the heartbreak of wanting to be a mom so badly, trying everything, and then finally turning to surrogacy to achieve your dream of becoming a mom. And then after countless sacrifices and challenges, you welcome your child into your life with happiness, with joy, with thanksgiving, only to discover 2 years later that the child isn't biologically yours. Instead, the child is the result of a... You know what? Let me just get into this story. The title says, Am I the a-hole to divorce my husband and leave him with the kid after finding out I'm not biologically the mom? And the story goes this way, word for word. I can't believe my life has come to this. All I ever do is go out of my way to help others. But on the few occasions I need help, nobody ever comes through for me. I, 36 female, have been with my husband, 35 male, for a total of almost 10 years, married for 7. We had what I thought was my child by surrogate over 2 years ago, because after 4 years of trying to conceive with no success despite medical interventions, it turns out I'm unable to carry a child to term. I had always wanted to be a mom. Devastated is an understatement regarding how I felt when I found out I have a medical condition that would make it nearly impossible to carry a baby to term. It was even more upsetting when I had to get a major surgery to remove uterine growths with the hope to increase fertility, and then complications during the surgery warranted a partial hysterectomy involving the removal of my uterus only. I still had my ovaries, so we started looking into cost of a surrogate. It's really expensive. My close friend since college, who had already had 2 kids of her own, offered to serve as the surrogate for us to cut down on costs. After 2 disappointing IVF sessions that did not result in pregnancy, she became pregnant on the 3rd try and carried a boy to term for us. I was so happy and busy after the birth, between being a mom and returning to work after a 4-week parental leave, so I didn't notice any warning signs. I should have noticed the red flags and warning signs early on, but did not because I was so exhausted from working so much at my stressful job and 2 part-time jobs to cover most of the bills and anticipated medical and legal costs associated with this friend becoming our surrogate. I was the primary breadwinner. My friend and my husband started talking more, and I would sometimes come home from my weekend job to find her already hanging out at our house when my husband was there. I chalked it up as innocuous, and it was good for her to know my husband better since she was in the process of hopefully carrying our child for us. I was grateful to have someone helping us have a child. I also thought it weird that our son has brown eyes when both of us have half blue. Then I found out that while this is uncommon, it's possible sometimes due to some genes controlling eye color. Recently, it all came to a head when I took our son to a doctor's appointment, and they did metabolic panel and blood tests, which showed that he had a blood type that is not biologically possible to have with me as his mother. He is B positive, I'm A positive, and my husband is O positive. Immediately, I started worrying that it was the fertility clinic's fault and that they had messed up and implanted a wrong embryo. I started lining up lawyer consultations to possibly sue the clinic, and I looked into having a DNA parentage test done. The test results showed that I am not the mother, but my husband still is the father. I was heartbroken and angrier than ever. I talked to lawyers about medical malpractice in the fertility clinic we had used. Then my husband confessed that he had slept with my friend, our surrogate, the friend from college, the close friend. He had slept with my friend, our surrogate, on a few different occasions during our struggle to have her get pregnant with our embryos. This means that what I thought was our son conceived by IVF and carried with a surrogate isn't my son at all. and was in fact conceived the old-fashioned way, which I can't ever do. Livid and absolutely broken at the same time doesn't even begin to describe how I feel. I have been breaking down into crying spells over and over again about this. He claims he didn't ever think He claims he didn't ever think pregnancy could result because he pulled out, and he had always assumed that he was the reason for our earlier struggles to conceive, both before my hysterectomy and during the IVF insemination process with this friend. I felt an immediate triple betrayal from what was supposed to be my husband, my friend, and now knowing my child isn't even really mine. I had such white hot rage and delirium. I immediately left home and stayed at a hotel for almost a week before asking my parents to let me stay at home for a while. I admit I left our son with him. I am now filing divorce because he cheated and betrayed me in the worst possible way. I have also cut off my friendship with my friend, air quotes, and I feel afraid to trust anyone else now. I have seen a divorce lawyer to see about giving up my legal rights to this kid so I don't have to face such betrayal or old child support. My husband and the friend slash surrogate, air quotes, admit they were wrong and keep apologizing, but also called me immature and heartless to just give up on my son like that. My parents also say I can't just give up on a kid that I went through so many legal and medical hoops to have. When I told them I refuse to stay in a cheater marriage and I would rather adopt someday with a better, more trustworthy partner, they also told me I was wrong and that maintaining my parental rights isn't much different than if I adopted outright. They said it isn't blood that makes a family. They're all about me divorcing my cheater husband, but keep telling me I'm making a mistake giving up my parental rights. Some of my other friends agree with what I'm doing. A few admitted they weren't big enough to swallow pride and care for an affair baby, or to see daily reminders of my friend or surrogate's betrayal every time they look at the son. I just want a clean break and a fresh start. I'm also looking at relocating several states away. So, am I the a-hole to give up my parental rights in the divorce because a kid I paid a lot of money to have, born by surrogacy, isn't biologically mine at all, but the surrogate's? Whew. This was such a ride. I'm not going to say what I think, if I think she's the a-hole. I'm sure you already know from the way I've been the way I've been sounding. But let me read some comments. Now someone says, not the a-hole. One of the things that gets me is that you were working extra jobs to pay for the surrogacy, which I'm assuming included her medical bills and financially supporting her. I'll speak to a solicitor about suing her for your money back. She knew that if she was having sex, then there was always a chance that the child was biologically hers. And that person says she likely signed a lot of legal forms about this stuff, including one about having sex with anyone while undergoing fertility treatments. Another comment says, my fear is the ex-husband and the ex-friend will end up dating and then start telling the child who his real mom is. This isn't a simple adoption. This is a huge mess. And then another says, it's honestly a good thing that she's giving up her rights. She would never be able to look at that child without feeling pain, betrayal, and rage. He will suffer so much. Kids know. It will be more hurtful for him to experience her rejection every day than to lose her once and for all. So sad how the people in her life are guilt-tripping her when it's the right thing to do and she's already been through so much. Another person says, not the a-hole. Did you firm a contract for the surrogacy? Because you can sue them for scam. Also for emotional damage. I think your parents aren't thinking about you and your well-being. Another comment says, The surrogate will have signed forms agreeing to use condoms exclusively when engaging in sexual contact. How legally binding they are, I'm not sure. The OP's fertility clinic will have lawyers familiar with this rare type of family law. It will be best to reach out to them for guidance. Now, over to you. What do you think? Do you think she's making a mistake by giving up her rights to the child and divorcing her husband? Let me know what you think in the comment section. And for more stories like this, don't forget to subscribe and turn on your notifications. See you soon.